Randy asked me to introduce our speakers because I have a son that goes to their school. My son Hudson's in 9th grade. He's been there since 6th grade. Loves it, and I can't say enough about how much he does love it. And Mr. Cheeseman's going to talk today a lot, I think, about building character and how that fits into the Webb. The Webb does a great job. The Webb School does an outstanding job of creating accountability, really fostering them to be involved in something other than just academics. And our experience has been exemplary. My son Hudson, his ability to prioritize his day and communicate his thoughts, he seems like he's 35 most days, but he's only 15. I'm reminded he's 15 because we're learning to drive right now. And when he's driving, he's very 15. He's 14 sometimes there, but I'm going to hit some bullets on these guys. Their resumes are impressive, and I try to summarize. Mr. Cheeseman's only the 13th head of school in Webb's history. They've been there 154 years, and there's been 13. He went to the University of Virginia, where he got a degree in English and economics. He's taught and coached track at 3 different schools, Macaulay being the one closest by, I think. He was an academic dean at Brentwood Academy, headmaster of 2 colleges, the most recent being Fort Worth Christian School. His wife of 33 years, Kathy, is a highly decorated cross-country and track coach. As a matter of fact, we won the most recent state championship, Webb, and she was instrumental in that. They have 4 children. Their adult children graduated from Davidson College, Belmont University, and Notre Dame, all competing in cross-country and track in college. Their youngest daughter is one of the top runners in the state, and she's a junior at Webb, classmate of my son's. And they're expecting their first grandchild, I guess, any second, right? March?
Next couple days. Yeah.
All right, so big time. So glad you worked out where you can still be here. Tabetha, who's with him, she's a graduate, 1994 graduate of the Webb School. She's currently the Associate School of Enrollment Management. Prior to that, she was the head of middle school and the assistant head of school. She earned 2 of her 3 degrees at MTSU and got a doctorate degree at Vanderbilt. Prior to coming to Webb, she was the head of school at Boyd Christian School in McMinnville, Tennessee. In addition to her work at Webb, she teaches some research courses at MTSU. She's also a licensed yoga teacher. She obviously doesn't like spare time. Her oldest child, Lexi, graduated from Webb and Rhodes College and now is an educator, and her son, London, is currently a senior at the Webb School. I will turn it over to these guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Stacy, I just can't resist. As you were talking about my children, and Bill knows this because he reminded me of it, but just this past weekend, our youngest, who's a junior at Webb, won the national championships and the indoor track championships up in Boston. So she had a good weekend. So, yeah. What a gift it is to come to a place where you begin with prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I appreciate that very, very much. You're going to get old school today. So I have no PowerPoint intentionally, right? So we're just going to do old school and share with you a little bit about Webb. And then when we're done, we're happy to take any questions that you might have, not just about Webb, but education. Between the two of us, we've been in this business over 55 years. So we've seen a few things and happy to chat with you about that. But let me jump in. We're honored to be here with you today. For those of you who are not familiar, and I'm happy to know now that we've got several alumni parents here. So that thrills me. I just heard a great story about putting up lights at the Webb School for the first time. I'd never heard that story until Steve's told me, so it's awesome. As you just heard, we are 154 years old as a school, founded in 1870. We have men and women of all vocations as our graduates. We've had 10 Rhodes Scholars graduate from the Webb School, more than any other independent school in the South. We've had a governor of Tennessee, senators, congressmen, doctors, lawyers, professors, business leaders, judges, a current NBA basketball player, and virtually every other vocation, which pleases us because we feel like they are able to influence the world through that lens of our mission. So our graduates live all over the globe. We have our first Chinese board member who's a graduate of the Webb School. And we're thrilled to have that global perspective at Webb. But what we all have in common is an understanding of hard work and effective work, accurate scholarship, high character, the need for courteousness, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. These are traits that in 1870 were given to us by Sawney Webb, and they continue to be our core values today. So as I was preparing for this, it's been a while since I went on your website, Rotary International, to look at your mission. And I was pleased to see how consistent your mission, your vision is with our own. I'm sure I could just point to any one of you. You could stand up and just recite it like that, right? Yeah, not a lot of nodding of heads, right? So I'll just share it with you. So mission, we provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. That's what you say your mission is. That's what you do. You say your vision is, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Okay? That's your vision. Well, having just completed a new strategic plan at the Webb School, we added a vision statement to our mission and to what we call our enduring understandings, which is more of a modern interpretation of our mission. So here's our new vision statement, and you're going to hear some similarities, right? The Webb School develops future global leaders who strive for excellence in academics, arts, and athletics with character above all else. So you can hear some similarities there. At Webb, we are one of the most diverse schools in the entire state of Tennessee. That might surprise you. In little old Bell Buckle, right? 40% of our students are students of color from the United States or international students. Our students come from 17 different states around the United States and 21 different countries across 5 continents. So pretty diverse. We unite around our mission. So our mission statement that Sawney gave us is, Webb turns out young people who are tireless workers and who know how to work effectively, who are accurate scholars, who know the finer points of morals and practice them in their everyday living, who are always courteous.
Without the slightest trace of snobbery.
Right? So I point to my alum because without the slightest trace of snobbery used to actually be written in the mission statement. This is what Sawney gave us, right? So we have Mission Monday, where the entire school recites the mission statement, and when we get done, the students all say, without the slightest hint of snobbery, right? Which is interesting in 2024, right? If somebody comes off as a snob or they have snobbery, it immediately gets in the way of your ability to communicate, to speak, and to hear. And so even though that concept is old, it's still relevant today, we believe. But from this rich, diverse student population and a faculty, I'm happy to say, that is increasingly reflective of the diversity of our students, we're committed to developing these future global leaders. I speak often to our students during chapel about the importance of their future roles of leading the world in their spheres of influence to solve the most pernicious problems that we face in the world today. I often speak to them about the summer of 2020. And the summer of 2020, from my perspective and my experience, changed many things, right? It wasn't just COVID was raging. We had some of the most significant racial tensions of my life, okay? We had some of the most difficult political tensions of my life. We had a country, and it was replicated throughout the world, right, where half our country seemed to stand on one side of the street, the other half seemed to stand on the other side of the street, and they were just screaming at each other. Nobody was listening, right? And then that often burst into violence. And that seems to continue today. And I would submit to you today that this is not sustainable. And the kind of leadership, this kind of leadership is only going to bring our country to its knees. So I tell our graduates, I want you graduates first to see yourselves as leaders who will pull your generation out of what seems like perpetual conflict. And I want you to develop, I want you to know you have particular gifts. And I want you to develop those gifts and how to use them for the benefit and the betterment of others. Selfless leadership. That's what we're trying to teach at the Webb School. And I want our students to envision themselves around a boardroom, and I use this analogy with them often, with men and women from many different countries that are trying to solve many of the planet's greatest challenges. Water challenges, energy challenges, food challenges, medical challenges. There's a host, right? But when they're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old under our tutelage, I want them to begin to see themselves around that board table. To be successful around that board table, we believe they must be able to see others, see the humanity in others, no matter what color their skin is, no matter what nationality they come from, what cultural or ethnic differences that they have. Because if they can do that, their ability to solve these robust problems only gets better, and they're more effective in doing that. So it's our expectation, this is our expectation, and we teach our students through our student-run honor system, our discipline systems, the diversity throughout campus life, particularly in the dorms, and our rigorous academics, that we need you to lead the next generation out of this really hard place that we find ourselves throughout the world. We have slightly changed our focus over the last few years at Webb to include not just academic excellence, but excellence in the arts, excellence in academics. We believe that our students come to us every day as whole persons with gifts in academics, arts and athletics, and areas of leadership. And so we want to have programming that supports our students in their diverse gifts. And we know that pursuing excellence in one of these helps them in the others as well. They're not just one-dimensional students. And as we've made this augmentation, we have seen the student body morale and enthusiasm grow. So we work hard together. We achieve excellence together. We laugh and have fun together, and that's really important. This kind of community, I believe, makes a profound difference in the lives of our students. The most important prepositional phrase, I'm an English major, so the most important prepositional phrase in that vision statement, and the concept that is, I believe, most important is with character above all else. And there's no one better, in my opinion, to share with you what character at Webb means than my associate head of enrollment management, herself an alumni from the class of 1994, parent of a Webb alumnus, and sometimes a weepy parent of a current senior who only has a couple months left. So please welcome Dr. Tabetha Sullens.
Thank you for having us here today. Mr. Cheeseman asked me to speak to you all about how we partner with parents, and I'll first start saying Stacy's a fine example. I've spent many hours with Hudson through the years since 6th grade, and it's been an honor to do so. I'm very fond of his son, and he's a great young man. Character stands as the cornerstone of a Webb education. Above all else is true for all the years since I've been there as a student and now as a faculty member. And it serves as the roots of integrity for every generation, and the same that they've continued to carry forward. In a world where external pressures and challenges cause our students to think about ethical principles, we continue to instill the values of integrity within all of our students. This is woven organically into their everyday walks at Webb, is the tapestry of the life at Webb. Positive peer pressure thrives. And just think on that for a minute. We always hear peer pressure and it has such a negative connotation, but at Webb, positive peer pressure thrives. You'll see groups meeting together saying, let's go study together, rather than things you might see in other areas, other schools. It's exemplified by the heartening instances when a pen is returned to my desk with a little note that says, "Miss Sullens, I just wanted you to know I brought this back." Those moments matter. That integrity matters. A silent acknowledgement of unintentional borrowing. Students will even pop in my office sometimes and they'll say, "Did you see that injustice on the news? Did you hear about X on the radio? Can we talk about that?" And it makes a difference because they're willing to sit in those hard moments and have adult conversations at early ages. These seemingly small acts of integrity hold significance, and they form the culture of values in our school. Acknowledging and appreciating these acts of kindness, whether it's just someone picking up trash on campus, holding the door for a faculty member. We have several on crutches this week, and we've seen students over and over, time and time again. "Can I help you carry that to your car? Can I help you? Can I go get lunch in the dining hall and bring it back to you?" It's those little moments that really shine through. They actively reinforce the belief that these small actions produce extraordinary influence and positive change in our world. They shape the students' time at Webb and hopefully in their life beyond. So together we work with parents and we foster a community in their daily practice of integrity, and that becomes a powerful force. We hope that that continues to enrich their lives beyond Webb as well and prepare them to practice lives of integrity. And the last thing I'll share with you was last year at our graduation, David Tang was also a classmate of mine in 1994, and he now runs a multi-million-dollar company. And he shared with our graduates last year how he turned down a deal because he knew it wasn't full of integrity. And I think that's the difference marker. There are great kids everywhere, but we try really hard to get our students to practice hard decisions, choosing the right, swimming upstream, and making the hard decisions. And I'm really proud to see our graduates when they leave us every year, knowing that they're going to practice positive change across the globe. Thank you.
So her comment about David Tang speaking to our students. The fact that he turned the deal down is probably not what got their attention first. He said, "We turned down a $100 million deal because it smelled unethical." That got their attention, right? It was interesting as we watched all that. So anyway, thanks for having us. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have about Webb or about education. What would you like to know? Yes, sir.
How many what's the ratio in boarding day students? And do you board sixth graders?
We generally do not board sixth graders. We generally start in seventh grade with our boarding students. We have a few, and then that grows. The percentage of boarding in day school at the upper school is probably 60% day, 40% boarding. We'd like to have more boarders, but as you can imagine, the boarding school market is pretty competitive. And so trying to make sure that we're right at capacity is always something that we're working towards. Yeah. Yes.
What's the population, student population?
So, Tabetha, we're at 426 this year.
All grades, all the way.
6 through 12, yeah. We, as we were going into the pandemic, we're probably hovering right around 310, 315. And so the pandemic for us was interesting because we grew. And we've been able to sustain that growth. We grew by almost 100 students. We grew in boarding first, but in day school population as well. So that was interesting. We're glad. Yeah. Yes.
How do you market to these other countries?
So the question is, how do we market to these other countries? So we have relationships with a lot of consultants, but we also travel. So I spent 15 days in China back in the fall, visiting with both our current families and then prospective families, speaking to them. Our other associates have been down in South America. We had one who went over to Western Europe last year. So it's interesting. There's a lot of families throughout the world who want their children out of their particular educational system, right? Chinese would be chief among them. and they want them to come to the United States and hopefully have perhaps an easier entry into U.S. universities. So that's part of why they would do that. Yep. Yes.
On the topic of academics and your standards and curriculum and so forth, I listened to a presentation talking about the school choice program here in Tennessee, and one of the drawbacks they said is in other states, they've allowed students to attend some of these private schools under that school choice blanket, but then they needed to meet federal regulations for testing and so forth. Do you have separate testing objectives in your academics, and do you have any concerns about that on the topic of school choice?
Boy, you just asked a hot button question, didn't you? Am I being recorded? I'm going to answer that broadly. Okay, so here's what I would say. Not just at the Webb School, but I was the chair of the board for all independent schools in Tennessee for about 6 years. And so our position pretty consistently has been whatever iteration of voucher is coming down the pike, we want to be assured that our independence is maintained. So the first time I met with some state legislators out of Memphis, and this is more than a decade ago, they were very surprised that I was a bit cool to the voucher program. Not at the concept level. It seems to be great to give parents choice, but what's the impact on our schools? If we're going to have to change curriculum and other things, then we're just going to say we're not going to do that. And so there is the rub, right? And I can't stand in front of you today and tell you, oh yeah, if you do X, Y, and Z, then it's all going to be fine. I don't know. So this is an ongoing thing that's unfolding in front of us. There's all kinds of perspectives on this, I know, but I think for most independent schools, we have our mission, and we're able to make all of our decisions locally on our campus that really we say, does it reflect the mission? And if there's anything that's going to take that away, we're probably going to say, no, we're not going to do that. So, okay? Yep.
How do you handle, I think it's mandated, some of these tests that you have in the high school, because whether you're independent or public school, how do you the kids take the test?
So there are a number of tests that are required in the public system that are not required of us, and we get to choose our own testing system. Obviously, the College Board and MTSU or UT, their testing, if our kids want to go there, they have to, whatever it is that they're asking us to do. We would, part of our curriculum would be preparing them for that. But in terms of measuring our own academic programs, we don't have to use those assessments. So we choose a different one that is usually, if you went to LA or Chicago or New York and you took the top independent schools in those cities, our testing is the same program that they use. So it's kind of measures what we value, we think. Yeah. Any other questions? You got to give one for Dr. Sullens. Come on.
I appreciate the family environment that you created. Primarily, here is the queen of teacher preparation, but you've got a fourth of your staff that's my family members.
And we appreciate that.
Hughes, Terrence Davis, all of those. And whenever I ask kids from Webb, I say, how is it? How's your relationship with your soldiers? They just love them.
Yeah.
They just love them. And I think Montour maybe, 6'4", 6'5", or so.
That's about right, yeah.
But they just embrace the mission and philosophy of the school.
Well, and that's born out of a structure, student-teacher ratio, that allows for those deep relationships. And as you might imagine, it's the most expensive thing we do, right? So you're going to have class average of 12, 13, 14, which is kind of what we have. That costs a lot of money, right? But it does allow us, all of our students to be known by their teachers. And I think that is a driving force that creates that family. And Tabetha, you may want to say something about this. I mean, she's a product of Webb, and she has about to have 2 graduates who benefit immensely from those relationships. You want to make a comment about that?
I'll just mention the advisory program. I think is one of our signature programs that you don't always get in other schools too, and it very much builds that family relationship. So, for instance, my advisor, I'm still in contact with. My parents went on to become her godparents. My mother is still sitting her name still the day she passed, and so my daughter is still in touch with her advisor now, and my son's advisor has been instrumental in who he is becoming and where he's going to study in the fall. I think that you can't put a price tag on that. These adults know and love these students, sometimes even more so, and they're closer than some parents. It really is a partnership. When I say they come and live with us, I mean, we partner with them through all of the walks of life beyond graduation. And I think that is, it's one of those things that you really just cannot do. It's for life. You buy into the way values and you're waiting for life.
So I think we only have about 15 seconds left, so I'll share this. Speaking as a daddy, so my daughter has been forever shaped by her experience at the Webb School. She is a better human being for it. She is known by a host of men and women who know her, and from that place of knowledge, love her, and from that love, have been able to inspire her to be her best. So I think that is really the hallmark of the Webb education. So thank you all very much. No, one more question? Yes.
I have a question. I have a Webb story.
Okay.
So I should have been when I Webb, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, but 8 years ago, I don't know, more than that. Anyway, he was a day student. For those of you that don't know, they have a bus that runs Murfreesboro and Webb back every day, twice a day, 4 times a day. And he was a bus kid, and it was his first year, maybe his second year, and every day Dad would pick him up at class and take him home. So every day I'd say to him, how'd you do at school? And he'd say, oh, boring. Anything exciting? No. And that was our conversation when we talked about stuff. So one day, Bill Mills, I saw Bill looking at me. One day, I picked up Ben and I said, how was your day? He said, great. And I go, wow, what did you do? And he said, a few of us went to the Bell Buckle Cafe for lunch. I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And I go, did anybody know you did that? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, what did you have to eat? And he went through an elaborate thing over here. And I go, well, did you pay for it? Oh, yeah, well, I had some money saved up. Yeah. And I said, okay. So what you don't know is you signed this contract with Webb for a whole bunch of money for your kid to go there, and if they violate any rules, they kick them out. But you still got to pay the money. And so I'm like, I got to call Patsy. This is a bad day. So Patsy says, don't worry, call Miss James. Is she still Miss James still there?
Yes.
Call me. I was hoping she would call Miss James. She knows everything. So I called Miss James and I said, Miss James, I'm having a heart attack. And she said, what's happened, Steve? And I go, Ben just told me he left school and went to Bell Buckle Cafe and had lunch. And she said, well, let me check. And I'm like, aha. Stacey, that was a good, like, let me check. So she checks and says, yes, that's right. Ben and so-and-so and so-and-so, so 4 of them left school today, walked to the Bell Buckle Cafe. If you know Bell Buckle, tiny little place.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
Didn't take long. Walked down the one street to the cafe, had lunch, paid their bill, behaved, were very pleasant, and came back. Checked out again. And I go, is this sanctioned? And they go, well, let me check. And she said, yes, they earn bonus points. Headmaster, I don't know that story. They earn some kind of bonus points. And if they get so many of those, they get to do something. And these 4 people decide, 2 boys and 2 girls, decided to go have lunch together. And I said, so he's not getting kicked out of school, and all is well. And she said, absolutely, because we call the Bell Buckle Cafe, and we tell them we got these 4 young folks coming down for lunch. So you be watching for them, and then when they get done, we call back down to make sure they paid the bill, they behaved, they acted like adults, they were pleasant, and all those right things, you know. And I'm going, she said, don't panic, it's all okay. And I'm like, wow. And so I applaud you guys for doing things in a private school you can't do. Can you imagine doing this in public school? You can't do the kind of things in public school that you can in private. And to this day, every time I go to, Ben is now an engineer and working and got a lot. And every time we go to dinner with him, I think of his belt buckle story, where he learned to order and learned to behave and learned to be an adult, and how that carried on in the rest of his life, and how occasionally he picks up the tab for dinner. That's my very favorite Webster.